Okay, hello again. Good afternoon. I hope you're well. Today we continue the series of interviews with the writers of the aviNews International magazine, and today we are with Dr. Nicolò Cinotti. How are you, Dr. Nicolò?
I'm doing good. Thank you, David, and thank you for having me. It's a great opportunity for IPC.
Okay, it's our pleasure. Welcome to aviNews International. Doctor, before we get into the subject, could you quickly introduce yourself to our followers and tell us a little bit about your academic and professional experience and background?
Yes, for sure. My name is Nicolò Cinotti. I'm a veterinarian by training, graduated in 2009. Then I spent more than 3 years at the Italian Ministry of Health, the Animal Welfare Office. And then I joined the Italian Poultry Producer Association, where I spent almost 8 years, mainly taking care of international relationship. I was part of the AVEC, which is the European Poultry Producer Association working groups, and sitting in the board. And then I had the chance to join IPC the 1st of January 2020, so right on time for the pandemic. So in a nutshell, this is the path that led me here.
Okay, that's impressive. It's a pleasure to have you here. Thank you very much for your predisposition and for sharing your vision of your article with all our people and followers and readers. Now, I would like to talk about your article, Poultry is Good, People Should Know It, which was published in the December 2024 issue of aviNews International magazines. So, you opened the article talking about the importance of food in general in human life. So, we would like to ask you, how do you see poultry farming positioning in this modern food chain?
Well, I see poultry farming being positioned pretty well, but it's not just myself. If someone looks at the FAO, OECD agricultural outlook, USDA outlook, every data are showing that the poultry industry has a key role to play in feeding the world in the years to come. So we are positioned pretty well. Of course, there is a huge debate going on nowadays around food and the food system and how they're working and they should be working. But indeed, I think that the poultry industry is playing a key role, and this role will become more and more prominent in the year to come. And again, it's me, but I'm just referring to and quoting smarter and more acknowledgeable people than me.
Yes, that's true. You also speak of a paradox in your article. Food production, key to providing our essential needs, has become a frequent target of criticisms in the public area, and especially in the poultry sector. Could you explain this a little bit more?
Yes, this is something really interesting that we have seen in the recent years, not the few years, but I'm talking about 15 years at least. As I said in the article, the food is something that we are all deeply connected to. It's something really important. It's probably the most important thing in our life if we don't consider the oxygen that we breathe. And for this reason, everything around food draw people attention more than anything else. Sometimes it's just people wanting to know how my food is produced, where is my food coming from. And sometimes it's people that are taking advantage of this particular attention that people are putting on food. So this created a situation where food sometimes is the playing field where communication and perception battle are played. So it's just an excuse to move people belief and try to leverage people not perfectly understanding how the food system works to let them believe what they want. And this unfortunately is happening mostly in the recent year. And if you consider something like the Food System Summit, the United Nations Food System Summit, which took place in 2021, the paradigm from which the Food System Summit started was the food system is broken. But that is not actually true. So there is a lot of interest, a lot of attention from media, communication, economic interest around food. Well, we don't have to forget that companies that are represented by IPC and by our members, we are producing food that ends up in people's table. So we are concretely and really providing food security to the world.
Okay, thank you. And we agree with you when you say in your article that the image of poultry production is not kept pace with its contributions. What do you consider to be these great contributions of poultry farming to modern society?
Well, let me answer to your question by quoting the definition of food security.
Okay.
Definition of food security that was given from the World Food Summit in 1996, if I'm not mistaken. And food security is something that exists when all people at all time have physical and economic access to sufficient, safe, and nutritious food that meets their dietary needs and food preferences for an active and healthy life. So if you take that definition and try to match it with those characteristic that poultry meat has. Poultry meat is easily available. Also, thanks to trade, poultry meat is the most traded kind of meat in the world. So poultry meat is available at all time, as the definition says. Is affordable, so it ensures economic access to people to food. It's safe. We, as poultry industry, we apply HACCP approach all along the value chain. We could spend hours talking about measure for food safety. So it's safe, it's nutritious. And again, it's not me. It's rich in nutrient, it's poor in fat, amino acid, has the same content of iron than red meat. Most people doesn't know that. Poultry meat has the same content of iron than red meat. People need to meet their dietary needs and food preferences. Well, if you think that poultry meat is culturally acceptable, has no religious constraint, is a kind of meat that can be eaten by everyone around the world, and is healthy, so provide foods for an healthy life. So if I look at this, it's easy to understand how poultry meat can contribute to people's life. Then there is a broader chapter. What is the impact of the poultry value chain in people's life? We're talking about job places. We're talking about taxes. We are talking about stewardship of the land. I have several good examples on how poultry meat and poultry meat facilities have impacted countryside that were underdeveloped, raising their development index by a lot. So the impact of poultry meat in the society is huge and goes beyond only the nutritious and food security aspect, which are huge by themselves.
Okay, doctor, great answer. What notable steps have we taken as an industry, as a poultry industry, to ensure global food security?
Well, what notable steps? I mean, as I said, poultry meat is the most traded kind of meat in the world by far. The way that poultry meat has been designed and has been implemented allows poultry meat production to be flexible. Production cycles are shorter, which allows flexibility to adapt to the inputs that we receive from the markets and the need that the markets are asking to our producer. Food security and food safety, I'm sorry. Well, I live in Italy and we used to have articles about food safety on the newspaper every day. But that to me is not a concern. That to me is a good sign. It's a good sign that we made a hell of a job in improving food safety. And so now it makes the news when there is something that is not working, which means that everything else is working. If you look at figures about food safety, the improvement in the value chain has been tremendous. And even in animal health and biosecurity, which are somehow the talk of the town in our industry, considering the avian influenza and the concern that we have for that disease, it's undeniable that despite the high pressure that diseases are putting on our farms, the job and the poultry producer have made in improving farm management, improving biosecurity, improving animal health and animal welfare have been incredible and tremendous. So the steps are huge, and I would like to say the feedback that we got from the market, the continuously growing request for poultry meat from the market is testifying that what we are doing is good and is meeting people's expectation.
Okay, doctor, thank you. Why do you say in your article that we have not managed to actively involve the public, the general public, in the evolution of our process?
Well, We have probably been part of a more complex and challenging phenomenon, which is that of the detachment of people from from understanding how what they eat is produced. Back in the 60s or even before, everyone knew how chicken was raised and slaughtered. Everyone knew how a cow was raised and slaughtered, how you produce cheese, how you produce bread. There was a deeper connection between the food production and the consumer. In the latest year, we have seen a detachment. So people are living in the cities, they change their lifestyles, they just go to the grocery, they buy their stuff, and they don't care, and they're not receiving information about how the food is produced. Probably that shift from a connection to a disconnection from production and consumer created this gap. Now we have to fill. Unfortunately, someone else out there is trying to fill that gap with biased or not complete information that might lead the consumer believing that poultry meat is produced in a different way. But unfortunately, we are some years behind here because we have to communicate with a different consumer, a consumer that have lost his connection with the rural countryside. They probably children have never seen a poultry, a chicken in their life. I remember being a kid visiting a city here in Europe, and there was a zoo in the city center, and the zoo was full of poultry, cows and pigs. And then I asked the guy, I'm sorry, why there's a zoo with those animals that are, I mean, farmed animal? And the answer was because citizens have never seen a chicken, a cow, and a pig in their life.
Yeah,
So
that's
they can
true.
see
Yes. That's true even here in Colombia. Yes.
that.
Now I would like to pull two literal questions from your article for you to answer for us. The first one is how can we address perception to both prevent long-term harm to our industry and the broader food system? That's the first one.
That's a good question,
Yes.
and my answer coming from the world of the association where I spent the most of my career is getting together.
Okay.
If a sector, and I'm representing the poultry industry here, but this is true for every sector out there, every sector's strength lies in getting together, creating a pre-competitive agenda, finding those topics and those information on which we all can agree and converge and communicate on that, not being scared about what we can say. It might be not popular, but every time that you tell people the truth, at the end, people will believe you, will see why you're doing that, will see the good that you are doing. So my answer to that question is not being discouraged by those few thousand or million, if we're talking on a global scale, that are against you. Those are against you no matter what. But we have to get to the silent majority, those people that are just waiting for the information to get to them. And
Yes.
so that can be done just by a sector that is able to get together, to agree on a pre-competitive, bold agenda, and to strongly and proactively communicate on that.
Okay, okay, great answer. The second question is how can we reshape understanding of what we do, why we do, and how we are crucial players in our global food system?
Well, that is building on what I said earlier. Once
Okay.
a sector is able to get together, the sector has to set a bold pre-competitive agenda. We have to show people what we are doing. We have to explain people why we are doing that. We have to
But
explain.
how can we do that? How can we show the people, for example? I don't know.
I think that being more transparent and sometimes even trusting ourselves more than what we do. Sometimes I think that mistake that we did is not trusting the consumer enough, being scared that the consumer could not understand what we are doing. Of course, most of the things that we should be communicating on are become highly technical. There is a strong scientific background for every single action in this value chain, and we might fear that people that are used to those 16 words tweet or post on X, the new name, will not take the time to try to understand and to go deeper into discussion. I think on one hand, we have to be smarter and more engaged with the new consumers, so a different way of communicating, so exploiting the social media, not just to promoting our products, but also to promote the way we produce those products. But on the other hand, trust people. If you explain things to people, at the end, you will finally succeed because everything we do, as I said, everything is underpinned by science. So the science is on our side. Science is evolving. So sometimes we have to evolve what we do and how we communicate it. But again, being open, being transparent, and trust the consumer more than what we did in the past.
Okay, thank you, Doctor. And do you really think that we have an opportunity to position poultry as the forward-thinking, credible, and innovative industry we know it truly be?
Of course, and again, I don't want to repeat myself. It's not just me. It's not
Yes.
just me. Poultry is becoming a key foodstuff on people's table everywhere in the world. There is an interesting graph in the last FAO OECD report that is showing the most consumed kind of meat in the world, where you have poultry with an X, the pork with the circle. I think beef with a square, and there's a triangle for I don't remember if it was fish or sheep, and everywhere in the world the cross is on top. Poultry meat is consumed everywhere, so we are already positioned to be innovative and to be an innovative industry. We have innovation all along the value chain, from pharma all the way down to logistic with slaughtering and processing in between. It's remarkable what we have done. Again, I don't think we have to position poultry meat in that particular role. Poultry meat is already there. Our industry is already there. What we have to do is, again, show people that we are doing more than producing just food stuff. We are really a strong, innovative, and looking forward sector.
Okay, thank you very much. In your article, you talk about USAID Land Transform project, in which the International Poultry Council plays a key role. Can you tell us a little bit more about it?
Absolutely, that is a project of which IPC is particularly proud of.
Yes.
Transforma, as you mentioned, is a USAID funded project. So I take this chance to thank USAID for trusting IPC and the Transform consortium, because it's not only IPC.
Yes.
Transforma is led by a consortium. The consortium is led by Cargill together with IPC and IFAR International. Transform has three different work streams, and one of which is that IPC is in charge of. And let me state two things first. Transform is the first 100% private sector led ever financed project by USAID. And second, in 2024, Transform has been selected by Fortune in its 2024 Changing the World's list. So that is a huge achievement.
That's great. Yes.
So IPC is leading one of those three work streams, which is aiming at creating a common understanding on how antimicrobials should be managed and all across the value chain globally. IPC has a series of documents approved in 2017 and 2019. We have always been really cautious about the AMR and AMU issues, so we can talk about that later if you want. So thanks to those documents, IPC is going out there, engaging every single producer association, every single company producing poultry globally, and asking them to endorse or support, whether they're association or companies, those antimicrobial stewardship principles that are laid down in IPC documents. That is really creating a common understanding on how our industry is operating in the broad field of antimicrobial use, which is something really important and key for us, because AMR, which is antimicrobial resistant, which is coming from an excessive use of antimicrobials, also coming from an excessive use of antimicrobials, not only for that, is one of the key topics. IPC is a leader globally as an association on that topic, and we're really proud of being part of that project. We are now entering the fourth year of a 5-year project, which has led IPC to great results.
Okay, thank you. And finally, to conclude this interview, can you tell us what exactly is the International Poultry Council (IPC) about?
The IPC, International Poultry Council, is the Global Poultry Meat Producer Association, has been
Yes.
founded in 2005 and is representing both associations, so national and regional producer association, and companies. IPC represents 31 countries or regions, because we are lucky enough to have the European Union as region and South American and Caribbean as region, but we have also 29 individual countries. But we also represent 60 companies active through the poultry value chain, all the way from breeders, producers, suppliers, and end users and food service. What IPC do, in a nutshell, IPC does advocacy for the poultry industry. We are those who are trying to set the pre-competitive agenda and globally trying to let the international organizations such as the FAO, the United Nations, the WOA, which is the World Organization for Animal Health, which is YONSA in South America, the Codex Alimentarius, the WHO, the WTO. We present them with every initiative that the poultry meat sector is doing. We push them to recognize the role of poultry meat. We show them what are the measures that we are taking to prevent or control certain diseases. And at the same time, what we do is we take everything that is coming out from those international organizations and we disseminate it through our members. So we are a producer association and we are proud to represent one of the most thriving and vital industry in the world.
Great. Great. So this year marks the 20th anniversary of the IPC, right?
Yeah, this year we turn 20, and our annual meeting will be in Casablanca, Morocco. Allow me to do a little bit of self-promotion from 7 to 10 April. Registration are now open. We are putting together a really exciting agenda. So anyone who would like to join us, please visit the International Poultry Council website. You can Google that, and the registration link will be there.
Okay, great. We will try to attend that event also.
It will be awesome.
Yes. So thank you very much, Dr. Nicolò, for your article. We have learned that committed to responsible practice and food security, we understand poultry to be a key component of our resilient global food system. So we appreciate your willingness for the interview, as well as for having written the article for the magazine of aviNews International. This is the end of today's interview, and we will see each other in the next opportunity. Again, thank you for your predisposition, and have a nice day, Doctor.
Thank you for having me, and congratulations for your job.
Thank you, Doctor. Have a nice day.